to paint our stencils, you are going to need this little baggie that has a foam brush inside. Be careful, it might have paint on it. At the end of class, please also note that you should zip it back up like so. You're gonna need this. You're gonna need some paper towels. You're going to need this little tray and your little bottle of black paint. Just like you would with other acrylic paint, we're gonna put some paper towel in this tray. Normally it's helpful to water it down so it doesn't move around on you, but you don't need to do that. In fact, we kind of want to keep the paper towel dry for this. I'm gonna put about my thumbnail size of paint on my palette. You can always get more, but we're gonna start with that. All right, so I've got my paint ready to go. Now I'm going to take one of my colored papers. You can fit approximately 3 stickers on each one of these. If you have a small design, feel free to go ahead and fill up more if you can. But you should be able to get at least 3 stickers out of each paper. So what I would do is pick one color for each of your designs. This one I've already painted, so you can kind of see that's why I've got the black on it. But I can fit 3 of my pig pictures on here. And I think for, let's see here, we also have a green option. There's these orange stickers too. They're a little shinier, but I think it should work just the same. I think I'm gonna start with orange to actually put my bad pork stencil on. All right, so you'll notice that these papers have a tendency to roll. So what I'm gonna do is tack it down just slightly to my table with a couple pieces of masking tape. Doesn't have to be a ton of masking tape, just a couple to hold it down so it doesn't curl on me. Then I'm gonna also put a couple pieces, again, they don't have to be huge, of masking tape on my stencil. I wanna make sure that it's half on my stencil and half off my stencil. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and position this on my sticker. I wanna make sure, especially since this one has this little gap here, that my stencil is entirely on the sticker. I don't wanna see that white space there. So I'm gonna go ahead and place it down there. I'm gonna get my foam dauber ready here, my foam brush. You're basically going to use an up and down motion. You do not want to use a scrapey brush motion. We're dabbing. And you also want to think about that dry brush technique that you learned with the acrylic paint, because you're going to do sort of the same thing here. You're going to load up your foam brush, and then it feels like you're dabbing a lot of that paint off, so that way you don't have any globs of paint on there. We want to just have a nice smooth amount of paint. And then we're going to push straight up and down. And you want to go about this in layers. So the first time you'll still see some of that color in the background. Now I'm going to go back and layer it again. And you can see the black paint is getting a little thicker. If you have really fine details, you'll notice that it takes a little bit more patience, more dabbing, to let the paint fill in all those little cracks. But once my brush starts or stops showing a lot of black paint, I can go back and reload it a little bit. Just a little bit of paint, and then dab, 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 dab. Kind of like with your linoleum painting or your linoleum carvings, it looked kind of cool to leave some of that noise. I think it looks kind of cool to leave some of this paint texture because it or the sponge texture, because it kind of gives the impression of spray paint. All right, so I can kind of pick up a corner here, and I like it. I like it. I like it. Cool. So now I'm going to do this 2 more times. All right, now that I am finished with these 3 designs, sweet, I want to show you what happens if you use too much paint. I'm going to show you that now. I don't have to worry about ruining my stencil. If you use too much paint, if you like really load this up, you'll end up smushing it underneath your stencil, and it will get rid of a lot of those details that you have cut out. Okay, where I think this is going to probably be the messiest is right here between the P and the O. There we go. All right, this one's not too bad because since I was running out of paint, I didn't get to completely overload my brush. Another good reason why to not use too much paint. But you can see next to the R and a little bit on the O, there's all these little blobs. That's where I had too much paint on my brush, and so it just spilled underneath. The worst thing about doing that is how it also gets the paint on the back side of your stencil. So if that happens, you have to either wait for this to dry off. You can take some scrap pieces of paper towel and try to get some of that extra paint off yourself. If you get all the excess paint off, it won't take but a minute for it to be dry enough for you to go ahead and keep working. But you do want to make sure that this is completely dry before you keep stamping, or not stamping, before you keep painting. Otherwise, your stencil is going to warp, and these issues are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. All right, once you have all of your stencils painted, so I've got 3 of my picture and 3 of my name stencils, you're going to go ahead and cut them out. And I actually have an example of like a commercially printed sticker here, but we want to cut our stickers out sort of like this, where we're just leaving a little gap around the actual design. So the first thing I'm going to do to make this easier is separate all of my stickers so I can cut them out individually. So with this one, I'm going to cut, leaving about a 1/4 inch gap all the way around. So I'm not cutting right up to my design, leaving just a little gap. There we go. So I'll do that with all 3 of my names. And then I'll do the same thing with my pictures, which are a different shape. So here again, I'm just going to try to keep a little space all around my design. Like that. When you are all done cutting out your stickers, please throw away all of your little scraps. But if you have some fairly sizable chunks like this, please put them, Ms. Braun and I will have a designated spot for them. These are great things for us to reuse in journals. Thanks. All right, before you move on to the last part of this project, where we're going to create sort of like a fake wall where you get to display both your sticker designs, I want to remind you that you do need to submit a picture of all 6 of your stickers together. A good way to do this before you take your picture is to put a little loop of masking tape on the back of your stickers, and then stick all of your stickers to one scrap piece of paper. I know Ms. Braun and I both have a stash of some scrap papers in our room. So I have all 6 of them adhered to this. This will make it a lot easier to hold up my paper and display all 6 of these cutout stickers for turning in the Cami assignment. One last thing, the scrap piece of paper idea is also a good way to display your 2 stencils, which again, you need to take a picture of for your Cami assignment.